Minions: The Rise of Gru is not only the 5th installment of the Despicable Me film series, it is the sequel to the spin-off that came out in 2015, picking up right where that one left off. The Minions have tracked down Gru at an integral point of his youth. He is trying to join up with this supervillain team, the Vicious Six. They're down a member, so they need a new one. He goes in for an interview. They make fun of him because he's just a little kid. Then he steals something that's very important to them. So they chase after him. Several different groups of people are chasing after him, and the Minions need to help him. Ages 10 to like 13, that little time period in my life, I really enjoyed the 2 Despicable Me movies that had come out. You know, it's like I enjoy the Minions, I enjoy these characters, I like the jokes, the animation looks cool. You know, I was really enjoying those movies. Around the time when the Minions spin-off was coming out, I was like, okay, that seems cool, giving the Minions a backstory in their own little film. Why not? You know, let's see it. And then I remember specifically, I wasn't even 15 yet. It was like a couple weeks before my birthday when the movie came out. But I remember seeing that movie in the theater. Tons of kids, made a lot of money, packed, everyone's laughing, everyone's having a good time, but me, I'm just sitting there, 14 years old, and I'm like, something feels off, something is wrong here, what is it? And ever since then, I have not really been able to enjoy the other Despicable Me films as much, especially the other Illumination films. It's just been kind of, the Minions movie kicked off something that has only grown more as I have, you know, aged. You might say it's just an age thing and not just the Minions movie. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna say it's the Minions movie's fault as to why this is. I rewatched the first Despicable Me and I still like that movie. I think it's solid. It's got some solid jokes. If you really try to think about it, the world doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's like some confusing things about it. But it's just it's an over-the-top cartoon with CG animation with a cute little story about a villain opening up his heart. Why not? You know, it's a cute thing and the Minions are funny. It was their debut film, Illumination, so you could tell that they were legitimately trying to trying to entertain the kids, you know, trying to tell a story that's kind of like, oh, tug at the heartstrings, keep people wanting to come back. And then you can kind of feel in Despicable Me 2, they had an idea, we can continue the story this way, grow the Gru character, and grow out the family, but there's certain trappings that become more prominent in the other Illumination films started off here. You can kind of see some of the beginnings of it, and it holds that movie back from being legitimately good for me. And then you have Despicable Me 3, which is just, they didn't even try. They were coasting at that point. They still coast, you know, but that point especially, they're just like, all right, we got some subplots. They're kind of like equivalent to like a TV show subplot, like a really lame cartoon show subplot, but whatever, put it in the movie, I guess, and it's just a sequence of scenarios that builds to a conclusion, but none of it means anything or is satisfying or is impactful in any way. It's just stuff. Stuff is happening and you're looking at it. The first 2 Despicable Me movies are still better than 3, but 3 is also better than Minions. So going into Rise of Gru, I was like, okay, here we go again. I mean, yeah, this movie's been advertised for like 2.5 years now. The first trailer came out beginning of 2020. So this movie's been a long time coming, and all the while I'm just like, I hope for the best. I really wish that Illumination could strike that same magic that they did with that first Despicable Me, but you know, I doubt it. And yeah, this is exactly what you would expect. I would say it's probably like a margin better than the original spin-off. And I think you can point to one of the reasons why it is better is because there is at least a character at the center here, Little Gru. And sure, Little Gru doesn't really have any character arcs or any proper development because that shit comes when he's an adult in the Despicable Me movies. You know, there's a character there who's kind of fun. Like, it's this little kid who's, you know, socially isolated, parent doesn't like him, and no one at school likes him, but he's just trying to be evil. He's trying to be a trickster, and he's got these minions following him around. You know, it's goofy and it's a cute little kid. Why not? You know, it's a fun character to watch, as opposed to just watching 3 little tater tots speak gibberish for an hour and a half while things happen around them. Although I would say it's better because of Little Gru, it's still it bugs me that they didn't really try to, you know, do anything that special with it. Because I think it's no surprise to anyone that, you know, a lot of the reason why Gru is the way he is because of his childhood, because he was so isolated and alone. You know, we saw that in the first Despicable Me. His mom doesn't give a shit about anything he does. So I was hoping that they would take the time to, like, use these minions as, like, okay, there's, like, a genuine kind of bond here that grows and you can see where it starts and how that actually properly developed. And instead they just kind of, open the movie and the minions are already hanging out with him. And the way he interacts with them, it's kind of more so like, I can do, villainous stuff and they're also here, which is kind of neat, I guess. You don't really, I don't know, I never really got that sense of like, you can feel, even though he may not be outright saying it because he's not that Gru yet in the original movies, you can sense that bond there. And I never really got that. But that's kind of like the Illumination standard, is that they don't really go too deep, and whenever they do, it's kind of like a miracle. It's like, oh my god, they're trying something. Or maybe it's buried under a bunch of other subplots that are happening, and this thing feels kind of irrelevant to everything else going on. That was like a problem with Sing 2, is that they did something with who was it, Bono? The Bono character. And it's like, this is just so opposite of anything else going on, and like, I don't care. There's too many things going on that don't matter ultimately. So kind of getting that sense in the beginning of the film, like, okay, yeah, they're not going to try to do anything with that. Oh, here we go, but at least you have that character. There's some fun action sequences that happen, some chase stuff, the way they use some of their, spy technology, and there's like this little medallion that turns people into creatures at one point. It's like, okay, it's kind of neat. The animation, as per usual, looks pretty good. If I had to nitpick with the animation, it's obviously just the way Illumination is, a lot of copy and paste stuff, some parts where you can kind of maybe feel they're cheaping out on some things, or some other animation details kind of like that. But for the most part, you look at an image from an Illumination movie, you're like, it doesn't look too bad, bright and colorful, and, the characters are, designed fine. But at this point, you have all the money in the world being pumped into animation stuff. But you also now have a lackluster kind of story where, okay, it seems like it's not a bad idea for a story. Like, okay, little Gru wants to join with these other villains. You get to see other villains doing stuff. Not a bad idea, but there's some kind of like emotional or at least personal kind of connection missing for the audience to really get invested. So this story kind of feels a bit more lackluster. And once again, it does not help that the minions, as per usual, don't have any characteristics or have any specific character traits. They tried initially with the original minions, Kevin Stewart and Bob. One of them's a leader, one of them's a kid, one of them doesn't give a shit. They gave them those personalities at the start, but, it doesn't matter because those get thrown out the window as soon as antics and screaming and yelling happens, which is the majority of that movie. So you have this balance of like, okay, lackluster story, animation is fine, some fun action. The score is, I usually enjoy the scores for these movies. I'm not sure why, but I usually do enjoy the music that does play, and obviously the soundtrack is loaded with gems that you may or may not recognize, but leaning more so towards you definitely do recognize them. So at that point, the thing you recognize is that this movie is definitely trying to, win on its jokes, its comedy. And these jokes are very hit or miss. You have some that are clever, kind of like, okay, funny little joke, these minions, yeah, they're cute, and occasionally they'll do something cutesy or fun, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is why I like them to begin with, before you started to oversaturate the public with their image everywhere. But then for the most part, it's just a bunch of nonsense, a lot of jokes that just kind of fall flat. It's not really as clever as they think it is, and it's just kind of, it gets very tiresome. They have this new minion character who I don't think has ever been in any other one. Not that it matters, obviously, but his name's like Otto. He's got braces, he's a little bigger than the other minions, and his thing is that he just keeps talking, and everyone else is, and even the other minions are like, oh my god, shut up, and they give this character a subplot, someone that they paint as like, this guy's annoying, nobody likes him. He now has a subplot, and it's such a pointless thing, because he's like chasing after this dude who has a thing, and you're like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this? And it almost feels like the team behind this movie is like, yeah, why are we watching this? Let's just get this thing to a close. And that's just the way the rest of that storyline is treated. There's a point where Kevin Stewart and Bob, they're reunited. They're the main trio of this movie. They are trying to find Gru. And then they find him, but then they get chased away, and they're like, oh shit, we can't get in there because we're being attacked. And then Michelle Yeoh, who is in this film for whatever reason, she helps them get out of a jam, and she's like, even though you're kind of, time-sensitive mission, you know where your boss is, you just kind of need some assistance getting in. Instead, we're going to spend like about 10 minutes doing training stuff. And they just, they're on a time-sensitive mission. get Mini Boss, get little Gru out of there. And they're just like, no, I guess we can fuck around and do antics with Michelle Yeoh for a bit, why not? And it's pointless because it's not like the Michelle Yeoh character is important in the other movies. She doesn't come back once the minions leave the training sesh. They don't even finish the training. They're just like, okay, we're done doing stuff. Let's get the fuck out of here. It's just so they can do antics. And it's like, that's not my ideal situation for like telling jokes. Like, this is something like, it would be fine if it was like, we're doing like an animated series. This is an 11-minute episode. The minions are out doing something and they encountered this and now they're doing training stuff for the rest of the time, because that's an animated show. You know, it reminds me of the Rabbids TV series when they're just like, yeah, these things, they're not characters, but they're doing funny stuff. 11 minutes. That's all you got. But they're putting it in movies and trying to make it integral to movie plots. And this should not be in the theater. And if I can get away from just the Minions story for a second, because as I mentioned, we have a whole bunch of new villains here, this super villain team. They're also lame. They just, you know, they pop in when the script says we should probably have them be here. You know, if they could just do a movie about antics, they would, but they need to try to convince people that they are trying to make a movie, even though they're not. And these villains are just not, the movie opens with like, here's the, you know, establishing story for what the super villain team is up to, what's the Alan Arkin villain doing, separated from them, what's going on. And after that opening scene, I just don't care. You know, they're not characters. You know, they give you kind of a brief little look at who they are, but you're not making any kind of connection with them. And there's like a lot of celebrities in this cast. Lucy Lawless is here, Danny Trejo, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. They make up this supervillain team, and Taraji P. Henson is leading them. And I already mentioned Alan Arkin has a thing going on with them. I already knew about Alan Arkin and Taraji P. Henson, so I knew it was them, but everyone else I was like, I don't know who these voice actors are. Are they celebrities? I literally can't tell. And then once I found out who the cast was later, I was like, I don't even know, like, I'm looking at the names of the people they're playing, and I don't even remember who they are. So it's like, and I couldn't even pick it up in the movie. Why the fuck are you hiring these people? Like, you're wasting live action celebrity talent when you could just get like voice actors to come in and do it. Like, why are you spending money on this? For real? Like, they literally are just like filler villains just so they can, you know, design an action scene kind of around them. They're nothing. Nothing. They have a big like character villain problem. Like I said, they're afraid to go deep. They're afraid to do anything personal or emotional with a story. So a lot of these characters just come across paper thin, and the voice acting sometimes can't save that. I'll give Balthazar Bratt a pass from Despicable Me 3 just because I enjoyed Trey Parker just fucking around in a voice booth. You know, Jason Segel as Vector. Fun. That's actually a legitimate fun character. Why not? But every other character in these movies, especially these villains, are just so lame, and they're given the bare minimum. But that's the thing though, right, is that I can complain about like the storytelling aspects, you know, all day long, because there's so many reasons why this movie bugs me just as far as like a storytelling level. The same things that have been bugging me with some of the other Illumination films. Watch my reviews for like Secret Life of Pets 2 and Sing 2 to see more of that. But the thing is though, is that, you know, kids will eat it up, and there's enough here where I can go like, you know, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever experienced. As I mentioned, the animation's solid, good music, fun action sequences. Some of the jokes work, and every single voice actor, there's nothing inherently bad about them, even if some of them are hired for no reason, you know? Like, Steve Carell does a solid job doing Little Gru. I thought that was going to be annoying, and it was like, it was fine. You know, I like that this character is here, so maybe that helps it a little bit too. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just another Minions movie. If you love the Minions, like really love the Minions, you'll probably get a kick out of this just because they're there. And this movie is focused on just doing antics instead of telling a story, so you will probably enjoy that. But if you are like me and you want, you know, you don't want maybe like the most groundbreaking thing ever. I think a lot of people get, you know, confused when, you know, this animated film isn't like emotional like Pixar, so it's bad. It doesn't have to be like that. Like, not every animated film needs to be Pixar, but it at least needs to try. It needs to be a good movie, you know? And this movie just isn't that. So if you are one of those audience members who is just like, I just want a good movie, this isn't it. I'm gonna give Minions: The Rise of Gru a C. If you have kids, take them to see this. They'll probably get a kick out of it. If you don't want to show them this nonsense, there's some good stuff on Disney Plus right now, you know? Luca's there, didn't go to theaters, but it's there. Turning Red also didn't go to theaters, but it is on Disney Plus. Lightyear's a little better. I know I haven't reviewed that yet. I was a little disappointed in that, but Lightyear's a better movie than this. You could take kids to see that, but if the kids really want to see Minions, then I guess why not? I guess. Another thing that annoyed me was like the kids will freak out at the very obvious prequel stuff that are in here. Like, oh, what's your name here? It's insert name of character from last movie here. Or, oh my gosh, it's this character from the original. Oh my gosh, they're hinting at this. I get it. Jesus Christ, that was also annoying. But if you've seen Minions: The Rise of Gru, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.